Okay.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another 50 Conversations with 50 Strangers. But this one is going to be unlike any other that I've had because the woman sitting in front of me is not only a stranger, she's my wife. And yet, sometimes, in really full transparency, not to get marriage counseling from you or not to even think that, sometimes I get so caught up in the work that I'm doing that sometimes my wife is a stranger because I talk to so many people over the course of a day that when I'm done talking to people, sometimes I just want to be quiet. And so I looked at Anna the other day and I said, how about if you just come on my show so that we could actually get a chance to not, and we talk to each other all the time. Don't get me wrong. That's not, I'm not trying to say we don't talk to each other, but I just thought how cool it would be to turn a corner in this because even one of my dear friends from a long time ago said, I know I'm not a stranger, but could I come on your show? Because I just would like to talk to you. And so even though it's 50 conversations with 50 strangers, it doesn't have to be because all of us in some way or another don't really know what each other think. And so this is an opportunity for you to get to know my wife, for me to get to know my wife even better. Who knows what will come out? And I just want to tell you, it's such a pleasure that I introduce you to the woman who I don't know how I could live without. So, Anna, welcome to 50 Conversations with 50 not strangers, because you're not a stranger.
Thank you.
How
Thank you so much.
how
It's a
are
good
you?
thing you didn't say that the person that I can live without. That have a good start.
Okay.
So
So I said something good. Okay, that's good. So you'll see. Every once in a while, I say something good. So, Anna, tell us who you are and what's important to you.
who am I? Well, that's a loaded question. I think I'm still trying to discover who I am. I am a feeler. I'm a lover, and yet I'm a fighter. So if you put all those components together, that gives you a good synopsis of who I am at my core. And what I really am learning currently, especially in the past few years, is how to integrate and harmonize all these facets who make who I am. And it's been a fascinating, to say the least. And I'm choosing that word because I could use so many other adjectives, from frustrated to elated, and everything in between. But it's amazing. I start to ask myself, who am I? I have to be careful, right? Because then I have to listen to what wants to come through. That's the best way I can tell you who I am. I
Fabulous.
don't.
So what I notice in people in general, and it's just interesting because even when you say it here, I hear it again, and we've heard have conversations like this, but it's so interesting when the pieces of our mosaic, pardon my narcissism for talking about, but that image for me is so strong. When the pieces of our mosaic are slightly disconnected or are they come from different places, we normally don't feel so connected because they're parts of ourselves. We're the fighter, we're the lover, we're the feeler, but we don't know how all that integrates. Our mosaic reflects that. And
Mhm.
it's there's something beautiful to me in the imagery of this mosaic. Is that what do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely. I feel the way first of all, I have a huge desire in my heart to truly embrace all of who I am, my entire soul. I believe that when our soul, because we're not our bodies, right? We're not this personality, although we are here having this human experience. But when I sit in meditation and I really quiet myself and I with the intention of getting to know my soul is none of these outer things. Then I have the opportunity to tap into what really is my soul. My desire is to not to negate any part of my soul, but rather to embrace all of it. And every single soul, I believe, has a signature, like a soul signature per se, right? Every single creation just is. A rock is created a rock, even though it can change form, but what makes it a rock is always going to be a rock. It could never be a tree because it's a different kind of creation. So I am after really getting to know who who am I at a creation level, and how do I love and embrace all of the parts of who I am, all the essence of who I am, right?
Yeah.
The awareness that I have available at the moment, and that continues to evolve, and we continue to gain new awareness and heal and get new hurts and new experiences. And it's okay. It's all part of it's part of being an energetic being, right? But whereas in the past, I would try to negate or make wrong certain parts of me. I don't want to do that. I just want to learn to really love them,
I love
embrace
that.
them.
I love this idea that every soul has its own signature. I don't know that I've heard that before, but I love that concept of how beautiful that is. That when you tap into a soul, you can feel the signature of the person, and it explains a lot because in some of the work you do with people, you connect with people's souls. So, and when you can, I'm assuming. So tell me, I'm lobbing this over the net for you to answer. When you tap into the soul signature and the signature is sloppy or out of place or or all the letters aren't connected, that what's cool is that you align that back together and then the signature is intact and is readable again. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yeah, the soul is always intact. That's the beauty of creation. There's no error in creation. I think we believe that there, but it's more like removing like the distortion that doesn't allow us to actually feel and see our own soul. So there's nothing really to be healed, or I mean, we use these words because we, semantics kind of like lack the capacity to fully describe on what we see on a spiritual level, or when we close our eyes and shut up and listen, right, and just feel and sense, and then we try to put it into words, and it always falls short, in my opinion. It's like when we ask ourselves, like, who is God? Well, I mean, another loaded question, because sometimes it's more of a sensation, it's more of a feeling, but we try to use our words to describe it. I love that what I see when I have the honor to actually help somebody with my gift, that we are all okay. We're not alone. We are so loved. We are so guided. Um, uh, we are we're precious. We really are precious, and that's why this soul signature that we all have. There's no there's no mistake in this soul signature that we have, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What I like about it also is when, like in my imagery, for instance, that a mosaic is made up of individual pieces, and each piece has its PIEC, has its PEAC too. Each piece carries its own piece, and yet
Mhm.
and it doesn't lose that piece when it collects into the mosaic, but it blends into the mosaic and all the pieces become one piece, but still each piece has its own soul signature, so to speak. So
Mhm.
I love that imagery. I might steal that from you. I like that.
It's right there for everybody. So.
What's important to you?
uh, for me, it's important that I get to know myself fully and share that in the best way possible with people.
Hmm.
That's really when I think about dying. Um, that's the one thing that could just break my heart if I lived a life where I did not embrace fully who I am and step into my full potential and express that and share that with others. Because I hate to simplify it, but I'm sure you would love it because you're a simple, you're a man of simple, deep truths. when I do the work that I do, whether I do it on myself or on others, it is so simple.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. What changes us is this pure love, not the human love that we talk about. This pure love, which is the highest creative force that has created everything so beautifully, so
Yeah.
diversely. That's what heals. That's the miracle that just makes it go away.
I love that. I love that because so often when people about love and people talk about going into their heart and they say, well, my heart's led me astray. But I get a sense from you that this pure love that you're talking about is something different than that love of the emotional heart. And that when you tap into that pure heart, that's where the real power of our knowing is, in that pure love of the heart. Does that make
Yes, it's
sense?
a source. Absolutely. That's why I call it there on behind me. That's why I call it source instead of calling it God, which, sometimes we think of a person, but the word source, it's this creative source that has created all of us and everything in the universe. I mean, let's just sit with that for a second, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
It's huge. And to try to embrace that and feel into that and understand and accept that we are part of that source.
Yeah.
um, and it's the source is within us. It's like having children, right? Like we have children. A part of us, a part of literally a part of our DNA is in our children. That's how it is.
Mm.
I mean, creation just replicates itself, and there's so many examples. The seeds in a tree that fall off, and with the wind they're carried away, and then the plant grows in another area. That has the signature of the original tree that it comes from. It's not complicated. It's just for some reason I feel like we have been so preconditioned to not think like this with
Yeah.
just with common sense. But I think a lot of people are starting to go like, duh, that makes sense, of course.
So, in this beautiful simplification, like my mind is so simple. And when I hear people talk about, I just want to be myself, I sort of wonder, well, who else can you be? Like, how is it possible that it's so hard for us to be ourselves? Why do you think that? I mean, nobody could be me better than me. I am me, right? And yet somehow the world wants me to be somebody other than me, or people want me to be somebody other than me. And there's so much comfort for me in my later years where I realized this is just who I am. If you love me, you love me. If you don't love me, stand in line. There's a whole lot of other people there, but not, not really. But if you like me, it's great. If you don't like me, it's great. But I can't be anything other than who I am. I mean, I can try and refine certain things of who I am, but why do you think it's so hard for us to be ourselves?
Yeah. I mean, and I think that also comes as we get older, because after 40, I feel like that too. I cannot wait to see what happens in my 60s. Thank God, because there is a freedom, right, in feeling that. It's like, hey, you know what? This is what you get. This is who I am.
Yeah.
But I do believe that um, the experiences that we have and this internal need to belong, because we are one, because we are connected, talking of source, right? We all come from source, we all have source. So there is a connection there that we all have.
Mm.
And these distortions with the experiences that we have in our human experience makes us fearful. And
Mm.
so this fear, and I'm talking about my experience specifically. I'm sure that if it happens to me, it's just, again, common sense that it's going to happen to many other human beings.
Yeah.
But what happens for me, for example, is I want to be loved. I want to be loved by other people. So all of a sudden, either, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, I start to change the way I think, and I start to change the way I act, and I start to talking about what my soul is telling me,
Right.
what my soul knows,
Interesting.
without having to grab a book.
Yeah. Ana, what makes you happy?
Helping other people make me happy. I love when people feel themselves, when they are, when they could see how beautiful they are. There's nothing that makes me, not even ice cream.
And I can tell you, she likes ice cream.
That moment to me is sacred. It's a gift. It really is a gift. And I have experienced that as a friend. I have experienced that as a counselor in different camps that I worked at. I have experienced that as a school teacher, as a mom, as a wife, you know, as a stepmom of a special needs kid. I say kid, even though she's 30, but she's a kid. Nothing. It just brings me to tears. I just love when we can see and appreciate and feel the beauty of the creation that we are.
Beautiful. We're going to go to a lightning round now, just to change it up a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Um, are you a dog person or a cat person?
Ah. Okay, I'm laughing because our dog is a needy dog. And I'm a Leo, so I would love cats. Um, hmm. Can I be on the fence on this one? I can like
You can
both.
be both. You can be anything you want. This is your time.
I love both cats and dogs for different reasons.
I bet right now when hashtags bugging you all the time, you wouldn't mind having a cat who sort of says, "Do your own thing," right?
Right, yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Ooh, coffee in the morning and tea the rest of the day.
Okay. Would you say you're a person that's in the box or out of the box?
Mm. I'm trying to get out of the box. I think being married to you has been a really good practice of getting out of the box. But I have to be honest, I've been in the box and I've been called square many times. And that's kind of like an inside joke. But yeah,
And why would you want to get out of the box if you're comfortable there? Why do you want to get out of the box?
because I acknowledge that I might not know it all. You know, I acknowledge that I might be missing out on different things or different perspectives or other gifts, you know, other blessings and grace that I might not see if I stay in the box. So
Beautiful.
why not learn to play outside as well as in the box, you know?
So you like being in and you like the flexibility of moving and back and forth. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I haven't heard that before. Um, both of these are super important. And you know, being with me, that I believe both of them are super important. But I want to know for you right now in this period of your life, which do you feel is more important? Do you feel it's more important for you to be able to stand up and speak your voice? Or do you feel it's more important for you to listen to other people speak their voice?
Mm.
You can't choose both.
Hmm. I've always been more comfortable listening. I feel like I'm a great listener. I can really love people wherever they're at. But the message that I've been given, and you cannot use this against me, the message that I've been given needs to be spoken. And that is to learn to trust in the power of our hearts and what that really means. What does it mean to trust? And how do we even access our hearts? Because, you know, we're so in fear and so closed up sometimes.
So, are you answering that even though you've always been a listener and you've always held the space for other people, that at this moment in time, it feels like it's more important for you to be able to speak the message you've been given?
Yes.
Beautiful. Do you feel like you fit into the world or do you feel different?
I've always felt different. Since I was little, I never felt like I fit in. Um, yeah, I always felt different, and I think part of the blessing is me allowing myself or accepting that I am different, and there's nothing wrong with being different.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, and just loving myself the way I am.
I think one of the most exciting um, conclusions or theories that this 50 conversations with 50 strangers experiment has shown me is that I'm going to say in 95% of the cases, people feel that they are different, they don't fit in. And yet I wonder why the world tries so hard to make us fit into it, or that other people, or all of us that are even different, try so hard to make other people fit into the box. Why do you think that is?
But I think, I mean, that's such a great question. And I do believe, I mean, we could go in many directions with this question, right? But let's just take one direction for the sake of time. Um, I believe that this is also ingrained in society. You know, we go to school, and I saw it because I taught school and I taught children of all ages, nursery, pre-K, all the way through college. And I saw how at a certain time, the system wants to put you in a box. And the children, they start losing their individuality, their creativity, their imagination, their
Yeah,
daydreaming. I mean, it's just so beautiful. The younger ages, just precious. Everybody should spend a day or two in a classroom full of 3, 4, and 5 year olds. I mean, you would have a blast because of the things they say and how they see the world. And they're so curious, and we start to lose that. And I saw it in my own children, and it deeply saddened me. And that's what happens. And then parallel to that, our parents had that upbringing, right?
yeah,
So what did they do? They do the same thing with us, not because they're loving, and I'm not that they're not loving, but it's just ingrained in society. I want to believe in a world where we celebrate each other's differences. It's like in our marriage, you and I are very similar in a lot of things, but very different in many others. And so that's an asset. Usually, not usually, I shouldn't generalize, but many couples, they compete. There's no reason to compete. It's actually good that if you're different, then you have, you know, different views and different, I mean, it's just, I just think it's richer. And
yeah,
so I want to believe in a world where we celebrate being different,
yeah.
you know?
It seems like a lot of the places that people talk about, and it's interesting because you've talked all these different levels, is that people say they were fine until they reached junior high school. And in junior high school, they felt this compelling need and desire to fit in with the group of people that were the cool kids or the right kids or the ones that everybody liked. Do you see that in your experience also? I mean, you sort of hinted at it by saying, I wish you could spend some time with 3, 4, and 5, but that's still young.
Yeah. It happens before that, in my opinion. It happens like third, fourth grade, it already starts to happen.
Well,
In my experience, I was lucky, and we were just talking about this with some of the girls. I went to an all girls high school, and you know, Catholic high school. So I was very sheltered in a beautiful, loving environment. And it was only 56 of us, 2 classes.
wow.
So we became really close. But so it was a different, you know, upbringing,
Yeah.
which I really appreciate because it allowed me to be a lot more myself than maybe a different situation.
This is going to be an interesting question for you, and I want you to answer it as honestly as you can.
Okay.
Do you believe you live more in your head or more in your heart?
Huh. I believe that I live more in my head because I am still scared of how much my heart feels.
Yeah. Uh, and for those of you who don't know Anna the way I know her heart is the biggest heart I've ever seen. And my asking the question the way I asked it, I really wanted to know which place she would answer because I was fully convinced she could have answered both of those answers and I would have believed them. Because she could have said, I live in my heart, but I'm pulled by the way of my mind. Or she could have said, I live in my head and I'm trying to be and I'm scared to trust the power of my heart.
Yes, I many times I feel like I wouldn't be able to take it.
Why?
It overwhelms me Because when you feel the world deeply as yourself and everything, it's overwhelming. So it is the internal struggle that defines my existence.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because you're the message that you got to give to the world is
Yeah.
trust in the power of your heart. So how do you
Yes.
reconcile that?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a practice, and I wish for myself to continue to dive deeper and deeper into trusting in the power that I have. And I think I am, and I think I continue to do so. Um, but if I'm being honest, I think it's going to be, as long as I'm in this world, I think it will be part of my experience in this world, because it's sometimes this world is too cruel for my taste.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Would you say you're a leader or a follower?
You make me think of the song that they used to sing to Elisa. We follow in the leader.
We still do.
um, I would say neither. Actually, I don't believe to be a follower per se. I'm not quite a leader. Of course, I'm talking in full terms, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
So where does
yeah.
that leave you?
I'm myself.
If you're if you're not a leader or a follower, what are you?
I think I think I am trying to be myself. I don't think I'm following, like I don't want to be like anybody else, right? So I want to lead myself. Yeah. I don't know how to answer that question because I really don't identify myself with being a follower. I've always been very like whatever, even when I was younger. Um, and then a leader, but a leader for me, it's like it leads other people, and it also is okay with standing on their own. And so I don't think I'm there yet, although I'm walking towards that direction.
Interesting.
And I want to be there, especially with this beautiful message and these, blessings that are coming to me. But yeah.
So it would it be fair to say you're in the space between being a leader and a follower?
Yes, exactly.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. It's interesting because for me, I would clearly say that I'm a leader. And yet, I think my greatest desire is to be a follower of something bigger than myself, to give up my desire to lead and to just follow this power that comes through me, which is not mine. And even though I try and take credit for it sometimes, I'm learning more and more not to.
Hmm.
And so, do you think people are more similar than they are different, or more different than they are similar?
I think we're more similar than we're different.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think if we all like actually started talking to each other like this, like from our hearts and without the fear of like, oh my gosh, what is he gonna think about me? Or I'm not gonna be good enough. Or if we just start talking to each other, we will realize, like, oh my gosh, I feel like that too. Or I went through that too. Or I felt not good enough. Or I felt great when I did that. Yeah, me too. You know?
Yeah. I think it's one of the reasons why I feel so inspired to just keep these conversations going, because you're not the first person to say that. And we all feel, again, a large majority of the people in the conversations that I've had have answered that they feel we're more similar than we are different. And that when we have conversations, just exactly like you said, when we have conversations like this, it just opens up that arena for us to feel that way. And yet, why do you think it is that we magnify the differences that we have between each other?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the first thing that comes to mind is insecurity, but then I ask myself, where does insecurity come from? And that's a lack of self-love. If we don't accept her, it's like the joke that we always say, like, oh, if I tell you you're a beautiful girl, you would be like, you would be laughing, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I obviously look like a dude, you know? I
Right.
have a beard, I'm super hairy, you know, I have broad
Right.
shoulders. Anyway, so I think it has to do with not loving ourselves,
Mm.
accepting exactly how I am. And that's enough. That's more than enough. We don't understand creation. We don't understand the beauty with a capital B that we actually are.
Yeah.
And if we were to just like pause for 15 minutes every day and just breathe into our hearts and ask whoever you believe in to help us understand, help us feel, show us who we are, this beauty that we are, we would truly like understand the miracle that we are.
Beautiful. You spoke about your whole life that you've been a beautiful listener. I want to just play on that for one moment and just ask you, do you believe that not only people talk to us, but situations talk to us? Do you believe the environment's talking to us? Do you believe our bodies talk to us? Do you believe that our workplaces talk to us? Do you believe problems that we're having are trying to talk to us?
All the time.
Okay. So, what do you think the world is trying to say to us now?
To all of us,
Mhm.
I think the world is trying to say, listen.
Mm.
It's exactly what I believe you're doing. You're trying to do is just you're doing what the world is screaming for is listen. Just shut up, all of you, and listen. That's why I get so frustrated. People don't know this, but when you and I are watching the news, right? I cannot stand it anymore. It's blah, 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 blah. Just shut up
Yeah.
and listen until we don't come together. It's like, I feel like Mother Earth is saying to us, until you don't all come together, nothing is going to change. You're self-distracting.
Yeah. And we grew up with this sort of idea of united we stand, divided we fall. You're from Argentina. I don't know if you heard that there
Same.
also. Same thing. So around the world, we grew up with this idea of united we stand, divided we fall. And yet we are living in a divided we fall world and saying divided we stand, divided we fall. And I don't really understand what do you think it is that makes it so hard for people to listen to each other and really accept and acknowledge and understand what another person's saying, just to give the space, just like we're both doing right here, right now, just holding the space for another person to say what they want to say. Why is it so hard for people to listen?
Yeah. And again, I think it comes way before all this, like it's happening as adults. I think it's part of like, we all need to look a certain way, study a certain way, think a certain way. So of course we become adults, and anything that doesn't go into that box, it scares us.
Yeah.
When we all know, for example, in companies, right, if we want to innovate, we need different thinkers, we need people with different opinions. That's how you actually get something better, and that is the beauty of the interconnectedness that we all have.
Yeah.
But somehow we lost that because we are in fear mode, so we're reactionary, you know.
I obviously didn't. I must have been sick during those sessions where people were learning that we have to look a certain way and be a certain way, because I've never done that. On a more personal note, what do you think the world and the environment and life is trying to say to you personally?
To me, it's trying to tell me, I got you. You're not alone, you know. You're not in this existence by yourself. We are really more connected than what we think, and there's nothing to fear.
I love that second component because so many of us feel like we have something to do and we're scared to do it. But if we really know that we have something, a force or a God or the universe or whatever it is we want to call it, is there with us, supporting us and helping us, then why were we so scared? Why don't we just do what we do with that power and that presence and that connection? Because that can do. So often people will come to me and say, I don't feel good enough. And I say, celebrate that. They go, what do you mean would celebrate that? Everybody says that's not, that's terrible. I say, celebrate it, because there's a force that comes through you that's good enough to do everything.
Yeah.
And it's just an invitation for you to step aside and just allow this power that comes through you that can do anything to
Hmm.
come through you. So if you don't feel good enough, hallelujah,
Yeah.
invite that power in that's good enough to do anything. Does
Yeah.
that make sense to you?
Yes. I think a lot of people not fight, but fight that point. Let's just put it that way. Because, and I had this conversation again, with a group of friends. And I could see where they were leading me to, because I was saying, like, this higher force, this source that is gifting me this gift that sometimes I don't even understand how I do it, right?
Yep.
And I don't have to. um doesn't need me. I'm actually in, so I said it this way, I get in my own way. And so of course, they want to tell you that no, you matter and you are enough.
Right.
But in my experience, to be honest with you, and that doesn't mean that I shouldn't learn to love myself. Of course, I'm on, actually, that's one of the things that I'm working on, and to really accept myself and love myself deeply, just the way I am.
Yeah.
And not but and it has nothing to do with this gift that is being given to me. Nothing. Zero. I don't feel like it doesn't need my permission. It flows through me. I tell you this story one time you were on business trip. I had to tell this story because this is a good representation. Um, I was taking care of Elisa, who, for those who don't know, she needs to be bathed. She needs to be, taken care of, like just like a baby, but she's an adult. Um, and I'm washing her, and
Lisa's my developmentally delayed daughter, who's now honest her stepmom now.
yes. And so it was all new to me. I never took care of an adult with special needs like that. And, that you have to clean them and all that. Well, I had the dog, my two kids, and Elisa, all in one sweet little bundle. And you were on business trip. So I'm doing the
I
laundry.
think our house was getting was that when our house was
Yes,
getting
everything
being
was happening.
terminated and you had to be in a hotel room.
So I'm like having my little pity party, like we all do. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. And in my head, no, of course, not out loud, because I'm very poised, especially with children. Uh, but I don't want to do this, like this is like so hard. And I'm praying, I'm talking to God. And I hear in my head, clear as you were talking to me. And I hear the voice saying, the divine love that flows through you does not need your permission. I was like, okay, I was just schooled, so I'm gonna shut up. you know? So it's like almost like saying I was telling myself after that, it's like, relax, Anna. Just relax.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go with the flow. It's okay,
Yeah.
you know?
If you had 1 minute, because we're running out of time, if you had 1 minute and you could say something to the world that might give it a little bit of comfort in a time where it's pretty scary sometimes for people. Some people are really taken by the isolation of the coronavirus. Some people are really pulled on either side of the Black Lives Matter conversation. Some people are scared of what will happen. Some people are scared of what won't happen. Um, just a few moments ago, we were in a Me Too movement, and there's a part of me that almost rebellious as you were talking about the fact that um, it doesn't even matter what we think. That it's almost as if, and I could get a lot of heat for this, but I'm just going to say it because it came to me. Um, it's almost like none of us really matter. The only thing that matters is that we get in touch with this bigger voice that is trying to move us out of the way and help us by just accepting the connection that we all have when we all come together. So it doesn't I mean, please don't misunderstand me to say that I'm not in complete sympathy and in complete affiliation with Black people and brown people who haven't been treated right, or Aborigines people, or American Indians, or the
Children.
or children or women who haven't been treated right. Like I'm under no pretense am I saying that, but at a certain point, it's almost as if the egos of all of that have to get out of the way so that we can allow this force where all of it matters. This
Mhm.
force where we're completely connected to something greater that doesn't see color, race, sex, age, children, economy, border, any of that. It can come in and just lead without all the no I matter, no I matter, no I matter. I don't want to sound like a white man who is an entitled white man saying that, because I've always mattered, that. But I hope it comes across in the way I want, because I'm not sure I'm saying it clearly. But
Mhm.
one part of me feels like the only thing that matters is that we love this source, this creator that is making all of this. And if we surrender ourselves into that source, the Tao says it so beautifully that when we leave the world alone, it'll take care of itself and it'll fix all of its problems. And we see with coronavirus, after 2 weeks, the Ganges was 50% less polluted. People were able to see the Himalayas from 200 meters away. Um, that we were able to experience fish returning to waters that they haven't swum in. Just when we get out of the way, everything comes back. When we get out of the way of our own self, we come back to being ourselves again. So it would make sense that when we get out of the way of all these little silos of groups, and we just love each other, because there's nothing else to do but just love each other. It doesn't matter what color we are, what sex we are, how old we are, how much money we are. I didn't mean to say to you, what would you like to say to people, and then say what I wanted to say, but I just felt that
Great.
what would you like to say to people in this world of where people are going through a lot of pain?
Yes, yes. And I think, I mean, before I say what I want to say to people, um, I think what you're saying is true, and I also feel like there is a purging that is going to take us there that needs to happen, um, until it doesn't need to happen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would like to tell people to never give up. To try to trust and in the power of their hearts. But I'm going to add something to that. And this is the key, even when we don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Because trust sometimes, in the way that we view it, is attached to the outcome. But trust truly is knowing without a shadow of a doubt that there is a higher intent, right, behind it.
Yeah,
So we don't have to get it. We don't have to understand it. We don't have to go take a course on it. We just have to choose to trust it.
yeah. I love that because, excuse me, so many of us trust as long as the result we want comes. Like I'll trust as long as it works for me, and I'll love you as long as you love me back.
Yeah.
But the whole beauty of trust is, like you're saying, not without having any idea of what the outcome is. Even if the outcome goes against what you think it should be, you still trust that there's something that your heart, the power of your heart, will lead you to the place you need to go to. And I really
Mhm.
love that. Anna, if people, like, I'm intoxicated with you, you're my wife, right? But if people are intoxicated with you by hearing this conversation, how do they get in touch with you?
The easier way is through my website, analauralevin.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Instagram is great too, Ana Laura Levin.
You'll send me all those links, and you just email them to me.
Yes.
Um, and I hope you will get in touch with Anna. There is such a power that comes when you honestly look at your life and deal with that beautiful place of what is stopping you from trusting in the power of your heart. And how do you trust in the power of your heart? And one of the things that she does that we didn't really even talk about so much is these source energy alignments that help you to align your energy. Well, why don't you say what they are rather than me?
Yes. Basically, when our energy is distorted, then we don't have clarity, right? And things are off alignment. And it could be spiritually off alignment, out of alignment. It could be physically out of alignment, mentally. It could be our energy centers, especially our heart. I work a lot with our heart because it is the pandemic of the century, of the history of humankind, is our hearts get closed up because we get hurt or
Yeah.
we're in fear. So that's basically what I do. My gift is the energy that flows through me helps align our energy again so that we our well-being is restored.
So would you say it's safe to say that if people are having a difficulty trusting that there's something out of alignment with their energy?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So if trust is something that's easy for you, you probably don't need to work too much with Anna. But if trust is not so easy for you, which is probably 98% of the people that are listening, I mean, real trust, I'm not talking about just baby trust, and you want to see if you can get your soul and your being and your energy in alignment, get in touch with Anna. Talk to her about what's involved and how she works with people. Because what a beautiful thing if we could really come back to a place of trust,
Mhm.
and if we could trust in our hearts again.
Yeah.
I believe if we trusted in our hearts, we wouldn't have a lot of the problems we're having right now in the world today.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are actually like me, and I have to tell you also that I channel, a lot of information and messages that will support the alignment. And I think there is a lot of peace that comes with that because then it gives us an action plan, right? It's like, oh, I can do this, or I can have this new practice, or this is why I feel this way. And sometimes in that information, there's also a lot of healing.
Yep.
So it's a whole system. If anybody has questions, the best thing is just contact me. We'll have a conversation.
And all of her information will be in the show notes that we post as we put the show up. Anna, I want to thank you so much for doing this. I mean, for you to answer yes to 50 conversations with 50 strangers when you're my wife, and not take offense that I would say, or maybe you're a stranger, but I love having this conversation with you because it takes the time that sometimes we don't get to just really listen to each other and hear you. And I want to so acknowledge you for making it available for me to be the person I am by the love that you give me. So thank you. For those of you who listen to the show and like it, thank you so much. And if you like this conversation, share it with your friends. There's there's nothing but good that can come if we open up our hearts and this space to just give people the space to be themselves, to just hold the space where no matter what they say, we love and accept them, we acknowledge and validate them, and we listen to them and hear them. What more beautiful thing could happen in the world than that? So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Anna, for coming. Anna, before we go out, is there one last thing you want to say?
Well, what I always tell you is thank you for letting me be myself.
Absolutely. It's my honor. And thank you for letting me be myself. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. It isn't strange to talk to strangers. I know I grew up with my mom saying, don't talk to strangers, and I understand the caution of that. But more and more and more, what that has created is a world where we're all strangers to each other. And what I'm finding in every single conversation I have, no matter how different it appears we are, as soon as we break through that moment, just like happened in the Mosaic, as soon as Mo, the main character, had a conversation with all of these different people and wondered why he was talking to them, what he realized is they aren't at all what he thought they were. The person he initially saw was just that, the person he initially saw. It wasn't at all the person they are. And in this room, there are many moments happening because the person we initially see isn't at all who they are. When we have a chance to listen to them and hear what they have to say, the world becomes a much more beautiful place because we actually get to know people, not as what we see them to be, but as they actually are. So take a moment, and I challenge each one of you who are listening, make it your commitment to enter into a conversation with someone you don't know. Make it your commitment to take the time to have a conversation with someone you do know. And even make it your commitment to take time with someone who is really close to you and have a conversation. I think you'll find, just like I found in this conversation with my wife, how much I love the opportunity to just listen to her and talk to her, and how proud of her I am for all the beautiful things that she's discovering. And I probably don't say that enough to her. So thank you, baby, for all that you are and for all you give to me and all that you give to our family and to the world that we live in. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, everybody, until the next conversation with a stranger, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Don't be strangers.